Alright guys, to do a lip demo, as much as I wanted to stick with Rick, he kind of doesn't have, I don't know, I can't see anything on his lips. So much of it's dark, so it's not really going to do justice to do that. So I picked these. This was a very large picture. First thing you need to do is outline it. I've got a lot of those nice simulated pressure edges, so that tapered edge going on. For this black circle, the one thing I kind of wanted to show you that I've done before with things is when you have your brush. See, this is on 43 and it's still tiny. This is a huge picture. Sometimes if I click once and I hold down the shift key and then I'm not letting go of the shift, it'll draw in straight lines for you. And then I can kind of bubble this in a little bit. And I could even freehand on down here. And then go back and I'm going to kind of make up my own lip here a little bit. I'm going to use the eraser. Get a much bigger brush. I'm going to make my own tapered edge. If I, same little hold the shift key down thing. If I click here, like I literally clicked my mouse and then I hold down the shift key. I'm holding down shift and I click here. It's going to delete in a straight line from there to there. Wherever I click, if this is my starting point, click. I hold down the shift key and then I click here. It deletes a straight line for me. So I can really take the time to shape my own line. Erase there. Instead of kind of messing with that path somewhat. So here I could stroke that there. And then I can go back and actually look at the lip here and see where is that circle. So I really don't need a thick lip until I get about right here. So I'm going to go back and do some more trimming. About here, I don't need it. Taper that all the way to there. Just erase a little bit more in there to clean that up. Oops. Alright, so there's the outline of my lip. To fill this in, I'm first going to use the eyedropper. Select a mid-tone, so it's not my highlight, it's not the darkest shadow, it's kind of the middle color. New layer. These lines don't connect, so I cannot do the method I did with my face earlier. I'm just going to have to kind of be careful. And as I explained earlier, I'd rather clean up stuff than be careful the first time around, so I kind of just fill it in. Seems easier. Go on with your eraser and clean that up. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm not really going to clean this up because it's going to waste time. But you would go around and clean that up and make it look really good. With the lips, you really need to take a second and study them and see where are the shadows and where are the highlights. I am not, for this cartoon portrait, going to go in and try to create all these creases. I do want to have dimension though. I do want to acknowledge where the shadows and where the highlights are. And on these lips, there's really not a lot of shadow down here. There's a lot of shadow at the top. This top lip is much darker than the bottom one. And then we have almost white spots. So I click here. And if yours is that separate, there's a huge separation in colors here. I might even kind of do a freeform lasso, which means I'm going to make a selection. Try to. My shaky hand here. And I can be super loose up here. So I've just selected this top lip area. I'm going to right click, layer via cut. So all of a sudden I've split my two lips. Top is separate from the bottom, which you could do that thinking ahead when you first draw them. You can do the top on one layer and the bottom on another. I'm going to turn the bottom one off for a second. This is the one with all the shadows. We're going to use the burn. Fuzzy, it's going to have to be huge on this. I'm going to start by kind of skimming that edge. And this is a lot of going back and just checking and seeing what kind of looks good. And you still want to have some curved, not every line I do on these lips is going to be straight. You want to follow some contours of the lips. Like there's some shape there within the shadow. The more time and care you take with things like that, the more realistic these lips are going to look in the end. So I'm starting to add my shadows. Sometimes you can make this a lot bigger and just let that kind of feathered edge of your brush skim barely inside your picture. That can create a nice effect too. There are still some highlights up here, and this needs to go a little darker there. So I'm going to switch to the Dodge, make it a lot bigger. And that looks pretty good. All right, I'm going to come down to this one. Off and on. A little bit of shadowing just on the sides, nothing like what I did above. So, and to help me not go there, I might bump down my exposure. So it's not going to happen as quickly as I hit this. A little bit in here. And now I'm going to focus on the highlights. All right, there's my lip, and you can go way further into this. For sake of the tutorial, there's my lips. I would clean that up a little bit and then merge everything together. With Rick here, just to kind of discuss what I would do with his. This top area, I would probably use a brown, a dark brown. I wouldn't go black. In this area, I'd try to probably eyedropper, whatever this is. That gives me almost a skin tone. So I'd probably use that. Facial hair, guys, is going to go on a separate layer. Let me show you that. And somewhere, I think it's in your original brushes, you've got some, yeah, they're all right here. You've got some great textures. You need to play with them and see what they look like on a big scale though. So if I go to black and I enlarge this, and that gives me a kind of nice beard texture. If I were to do lots of this, it quickly disappears and becomes all black. So you want to take care in how you apply this. Just like we did with, gosh, what project was that? The text one and the portrait out of brushes, one of our very first projects. You need to use different colors. His beard is not one solid color. So I might pick a dark brown. I might even pick black as my first color. Let's try that. Let's say I make a little beard over here. Oops, not black though. So there's some black. Taking care not to make this solid. And then I would go in and with a brown and maybe add some. Even if their beard is completely black, if you have somebody with a black beard, you might go in with a little bit, like a very dark gray on top of it, just so you have some texture. The other one that you can use is the grass. This one is a splatter brush, which means it's gonna kind of go wherever it wants. This one is just one. And somewhere, let me think for a minute, where do I get to it? Right here. So if I start using this, it gives me different sizes. It's taking my top color and my bottom color. So I would have to make this like a brown as well to get mostly brown happening. It's an option. It's not the greatest. I think this kind of stuff would work better even for Rick's beard, just to give him a texture. And I would be adding this over a skin tone. So let me just show that real quick. Oops. move my video thing. So here's my brush I picked. We've got black. Pretty big. Here's my beard happening. Still see some skin. Come in with a dark brown on top. And that gives me a nice beard kind of texture. The last thing I kind of need to show you, I'll do in one more video, and that's going to be the hair.